I decided that today we'll look at some typical mistakes that have been cropping up in the last week in my classes. And let's just have a look at these mistakes. And if we do so, it should make it easier to avoid making the same mistakes. So on this side, this is a typical lesson feedback that I send all students at the end of all classes. And this is just what the student said on the left and what the student should have said. In other words, the correction on the right. So these are the mistakes and these are the corrections. And I'll also show you some of the new vocabulary that came up during the class as well. But let's have a look at some of these mistakes, because these mistakes are actually really typical of not just this student, but of many, many different students. So maybe you will spot some mistakes here that you often make. So the first one's quite simple. If they do everything correct, it should be if they do everything correctly. Now, with something like right, which is an adjective, it has the same form in the adverb. You know, the adverb is right as well. They do everything right. That's fine. You don't have to say rightly. But you do with correct and correctly. And it's because right is a flat adverb. So if you're wondering why rightly, well, I mean, rightly is a word, but it means something slightly different. But yeah, with correct, you do need to use the adverb form if you're describing a verb. So if they do everything correctly. If we look at the next one, you have to pay a fine for breaking the rules. Quite a typical mistake here, just to forget that when we use the ing form, of course, we need the infinitive before break. So it's breaking the rules. So quite a simple one there. Now, the next one is very common. Do pay attention to this one. I've come across it many, many times. I stopped drinking at all. That's wrong because we only use at all with negative sentences. So you can say, I don't drink at all. You can say, I don't smoke at all. But you have to say, I stopped drinking completely. We use completely in positive sentences, and we use at all in negative sentences. So please be aware of that. And then as long as you keep that in mind, you won't make that mistake. Okay, let's keep going. Most of couples, you hear this very often. You hear most and then an of and then a plural noun. And it's not acceptable. You could say most of the couples. You could. Most of the couples is correct, but most couples is the easier version, yeah? Most couples. Most of the couples makes it really clear that you mean a specific group of couples, yeah? When you say most of the couples, maybe you're talking about most of the couples in the room or something like that. You need to be really definite if you're going to start using the definite article. But if you just mean most couples in general, generally speaking, like most men, most women, then you wouldn't say, well, you wouldn't use the article and you wouldn't use the of. So please be aware of this. Most of the men, most of the women, they're correct. But you would only use them if you're talking about a specific group of men or a specific group of women. Otherwise, you just say something like most men, I don't know, most men drive faster than most women, something like that. If you're talking really generally, but only use most of the men or most of the women if you're speaking specifically. Okay, next one's quite simple. I don't have been watching. So clearly we've got the wrong auxiliary in here. The rest of it's good because he's used present perfect with recently. So well done for remembering that we do need it. But unfortunately, we do, of course, just say haven't been watching. Okay, now here, this is quite common when people mix up what and how. Yeah, we can't have how impact. We can have how good, how brilliant. We can have how plus adjective, but impact is a noun. So we need a determiner like what or which, but what impact that has on the way we view the world. So the student was talking about what kind of impact, what impact that has on the way we view the world. He needs a what here, definitely before the noun, we need to use a what. Okay, they have changed the history of I Am Legend, and I've changed this to they have changed the story of I Am Legend. The student was talking about the film and the book, and I think one of them is loosely based on the other, and so they have changed the story. And this word story, we would always use it in English and never history for anything which is some kind of plot. And I Am Legend is a fictional story, it's science fiction. So anything that's in a book will be a story, certainly. History is really only used for the study, the subject, the study of history. So hello, Mexico, and hello, Sabi. So we certainly need the word story. This is very common. This was actually a Brazilian, my Brazilian student, but I know it's very common mistake among the Russian students as well. And so I can see they very often, it's their own language which is interfering here. And I think in a lot of different languages, it seems to me you use the word history like story, but we do not in England. Please be aware that we only use history for the subject that you study at school, really. Okay, they make you reflect about where society is heading. This is a very common preposition mistake, yeah? They make you reflect on where society is heading. So you reflect on something. They are not for your best interests. No, another preposition mistake. They are not in your best interests. Yeah, we talk about what is in your interest and what is not in your interest. And so please use the preposition in with the noun interest. They are telling that it is safe. So this is a really common mistake. I correct this kind of mistake more or less on a daily basis. The mistake of using tell instead of say and say instead of tell. You say something, but you tell someone something. So you can use tell when you're talking about who you spoke to as well. Yeah, I told my mum about the fire or whatever. But you say that it is safe. And there are some other collocations that you need to learn with say and tell. So for example, we do say a word, but we say tell a story. And so please do learn those collocations as well. Tell a lie, for example. I have got a video already out there on that topic. Okay, and the next one, they have done a huge investment in these products. No, this is a make and do collocation mistake. Yeah, and these are very common. You'll see this on another lesson feedback if we get time to look at a second lesson feedback in a second. But you make money, yeah, and you make investments and you make profits and you make losses. So make very often collocates with words connected to money. Yeah, I think that's really important. But do have a look at some make and do collocations. Remind yourself which words collocate with do and make. But make is for money, so they have made huge investments in these products. Okay, and a few new words came up. I suggest that you learn alleviate, pain, anxiety, stress. It means lessen, alleviate, but it collocates really well with pain and other medical words. So you alleviate pain, alleviate anxiety, alleviate stress. When you restrain somebody, you pin them down or maybe pin them against a wall. You restrain them by stopping them moving their arms and their legs, really. So the suspect was violent, so the police had to restrain him. When you impede something, you slow down its progress. And the student wanted, I think it was in the essay, in fact, he used the wrong word for the collocation with progress, and the correct word is impede. Impede our progress, slow down our progress in using a phrasal verb and speaking less formally. Reluctant to do something, it means the same as unwilling to do something. So I'm rather reluctant to take a medicine that hasn't been properly tested yet. To abide by the law simply means to obey the law. And so please remember it's abide by. I think there was a preposition mistake in the essay with this. Abstain from alcohol, yeah, that means you stay away from, you don't drink, basically, if you abstain from alcohol, but you can abstain from something else. To be acquitted of means to be released, so he has been acquitted. Oh, whoops, little mistake there. He has been acquitted of the crime of murder. Yeah, and that means he has been found innocent, yeah, found not guilty and set free. To agree on something, yeah, we use the preposition on with agree. And we use the preposition at for aim at, point at, shoot at, or even throw at, yeah, or kick something at somebody if you're aiming it at them and it's violent. Yeah, there's a certain violence with at. There are a lot of violent phrasal verbs with at, so that's something to be aware of. Loosely based on, this is a good adverb collocation. The book is loosely based on the film. Allergies, yeah, you are allergic to something and smoking is bad for my allergies. To portray, the way they portray the family has changed, yeah, to show. And susceptible to, society is more susceptible to fear-mongering in the media. Okay, I hope all of that was interesting in terms of what kind of mistakes have been cropping up recently. I see a few more people have arrived. So hello, mysterious person, Califar and Nikolai. let's have a look at what time. We were only at 10 minutes. Let's have a look at one more. Let's have a look at second lesson feedback. So I'm going to have to stop sharing and start sharing again. Let's try this one. Okay, it should all be working, I think. Is it working? No. Let me try again. Okay. That's better. Yeah, I'll put all stuff that you want to download, guys. I'm going to put all of that on my website. So you want to go to my website if you want to download any of this material, because I do put it up there where you can download it. So that's where you want to go. But have a look at similar mistakes again. So some mock exams went good. That's an adjective, but we need an adverb. This is just like correct correctly. Yeah, some mock exams went well. Okay, so adverb instead of adjective, please, if we're describing a verb. I'm an anxious people. This is a basic error, but it's a very easy one that we all make sometimes. And it's, of course, I'm an anxious person. Either for the studying of English or the studying of Italian. Now, firstly, be careful of parallel structure here, either for X or for Y. So I'm going to put in another 4 there. I missed that, but do think about parallel structure with correlative conjunctions. And this student does, because we've seen him use it very often in his written work. So that's great. Now, this mistake is a lot more complex. We spoke recently about the gerund and the verbal noun. And we said how you don't normally see, in fact, you can't use a determiner with the gerund form. Yeah, you can't use that determiner with the gerund form. And I also said, generally speaking, if the verbal noun exists and the study of something certainly exists, so we've already got a noun, study, then use that noun. And that one you can modify with determiners and adjectives. Yeah, it's the same with the separation, separating. Separation you can modify. You can say the separation. You can modify it with an adjective. But separating, you can't say the separating. And here you can't say the studying. So this is why this article it shouldn't be there. Yeah. And really, well, you can keep it there, but you need to knock the ing off studying and say the study of English or for the study of Italian. Okay. Now, here's a make and do collocation mistake. Once again, to make research of some grammar points. You don't make research, you do research. And we use do for tasks and duties. I often say homework, housework, office work, meaning all types of work, really. And when you're doing research, you are generally working. Now, I know that these rules that we give you for make and do are not hard and fast rules, and there'll be 1 or 2 collocations which seem surprising. But generally speaking, things that you're, excuse me, things that you're working on, you do. So you do research, you do a report, you do your taxes, you do the accounts, you do an essay, you do the washing up. Notice that all of those are tasks or jobs. So I love to relax at the Lake of Garda. We don't use the with lakes. So I love to relax at Lake Garda. The rocks in the background remind me. Yeah, the rocks are the subject here of the verb remind. So we need to knock the S off. Rocks remind me of this place. 2 persons is okay in legal English. I've got to admit that you do see person or persons thereof in legal English. But I want to warn you all that if you start saying persons and not people, you will sound rather odd. And that's why I always correct it personally in my classes, even though I'm sure there are legal dictionaries out there that say that persons is absolutely correct. But yeah, please, in everyday English, I would avoid persons like the plague. I never say it. I just don't, it doesn't come out naturally because I don't hear anybody else saying it. And that's why I want you to use people. Otherwise, you'll sound a little bit unnatural. Okay, let's keep going. It's very important that the knowledge be shared. Well, you can only say that, the knowledge, if the other person knows exactly what kind of knowledge you mean, and you mean some specific kind of knowledge. But the student didn't here. I think he was talking about, I don't know, online education or something like that, or, you know, the reason why we have libraries and, you know, the internet is because it is very important that knowledge, all forms of knowledge, any forms of knowledge be shared. Yeah, and that's why we don't use the article. And it would be strange to use the article here because you kind of think, okay, what kind of knowledge? If you're going to say the, you need to be, you're obviously being specific if you're using the definite article. Okay, and some new vocab that came up here. Let's get cracking, let's get going, let's kick off with that. They all nice phrasal verb or natural expressions for let's get started. Yeah, let's go. A large number of, be aware that this is the countable form. This is for countable nouns, a large number of cars, a large number of people. And that a large amount of is for uncountable nouns, yeah? Even though loads of natives make mistakes with these two, loads of them do. It's like less and fewer. Very few people, yeah, notice I get it right. Very few people get that right. And if you watch my videos carefully, I'm sure you can find loads of occasions where I've misused less and used it with less mistakes. Yeah, for example, when it should be fewer mistakes. Well, a number of is countable and amount of is uncountable, but we all make mistakes with it. We really do. To feel at ease means to feel relaxed. Okay. To do an interview means to give an interview to somebody. Yeah. If you do an interview with somebody, you give them an interview. You ask them some questions. Yeah. To get lost, well, that's a nice clear one. Yeah, if you get lost, then you know you don't say to lose, but we do say to get lost if you can't find your way. Constituents are the people that live in a politician's area, and they're the people that vote for that politician, or don't vote at all sometimes. But they're just the people that live in that area that he is the politician of. Okay, to be responsible for something. This is a useful phrase because people have made a few mistakes with it recently, so it's worth learning. To set objectives, it's important to set shared objectives. To go solo, to set your own path. It means to go alone on some kind of endeavor, yeah, and not team up, but do it all on your own. So I prefer to set my own path than to work with others. And last, correlative conjunction, both X and Y, like either X or Y. I've had experience of both working with others and working alone. Okay, so thanks everybody for watching. I think we'll leave it there. And I think I'm going to come back in a few seconds, if you want to hang around, for a crime vocabulary lesson. So it's a little bit more on the vocab that I've been teaching you with crime. We've done some money, we've done some work. We're going to do crime. Well, we've done a couple on crime already, and we'll continue and then go on to a different topic. But please hang around, and I'll